coming. First on our agenda is our two representatives from Delaware River Solar, Kathleen Conley and David Plant. And so you have the floor.
Excellent. And I don't think Pete is on yet in the list from DRS, but thank you, Mr. Supervisor. My name is David Plant. I am the Energy and Environment Practice Leader with Bergman. We're an engineering firm in Rochester. We have been retained by Delaware River Solar to do the design and permitting for this particular project. With me, you want to introduce yourself, Kathleen?
I'm Kathleen Conley, so I'm the legislative specialist for Bergman. So my expertise is in the electrical design for the.
So we've submitted an application. Thank you, Kathleen. We've submitted an application to the town board under your solar ordinance for this project. It's a 5.0 megawatt, technically 4.998 megawatt AC community solar project, and it's located at 5568 Jericho Hill Road. We've submitted a few copies of the application package. I have an extra if anybody on the board would like it. But the proposed project involves the placement of single access tracker panels. So they're movable panels oriented north to south on a 30.9 acre portion of the property that is located at this address. It's about a 162 acre parcel. Project site itself will be enclosed by a 7-foot tall agricultural style fence in accordance with your code and the National Electric Code. So it's not a chain link or prison style or barbed wire fence. It's an ag style fence. I don't know if any of the board members are familiar with the property, but it's set back. It's surrounded on all 4 sides by fairly dense trees on a hillside, and there's an electric transmission line that runs along the back of the property. But the only residents that can actually see into the project site are the Snyders who own the property. There's no other neighbors they're on the other side of all of the trees. The project as designed on the site plans that have been provided conforms to all of the 100-foot setbacks, 100-foot setbacks that are required for the property, as well as the minimum lot size. I think it's 10 acres. Obviously, this property is 162 acres. Another item I wanted to clarify too for this project, in addition to the agricultural style fence, there's an existing farm access road that comes in off of Jericho Hill Road. That will be upgraded to a pervious gravel road in accordance with DEC standards, so that rainwater and stormwater can percolate through it, as opposed to running off into other fields or other parts of the property. And it's designed to meet New York State Fire Code in terms of width. And then also you'll notice on the site plans there's several turnarounds for fire apparatus if they need to get into the site, or emergency vehicles need to get into the site. They can turn around easily and get back out on the Jericho Hill Road. The other item that's in the code that I wanted to address too is the prime farmland and farmland of statewide importance. There's a section in the code that requires only 50% of the property or project is allowed to be on prime farmland or farmland of statewide importance. We're about 19%, so we're well under that because the property is so large and the project's only 30 acres, so we're well under that threshold. Lot coverage of posts, equipment pads is about 5.32%. Your code requires a minimum of, or a maximum of 35%, so we're well under that as well. And be glad to answer any questions that the board has. We have done a full wetland delineation, and we are avoiding all wetlands with this project, so there's no wetland impacts. Anything else you want to touch on?
Unless there's any questions.
Just a general comment. We have engaged a legal firm. We're about to Knopf and Shaw to represent us, and also Labella will represent us in terms of engineering. And we also have consultant Sean Gadsby, who's going to represent us in doing code work as well as coordinating the efforts. So they're going to be looking over all of this, and we're going to be relying on them to interact with you And so that's where we are. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is what is your expectation as far as a host community agreement?
So that will have to be from DRS themselves. We're not authorized to negotiate any host community benefit package of the engineering firm. But if there's one that the town would like, you know, DRS would be willing to negotiate that with the town directly.
Okay. I think that's all I wanted to make as a general comment. Here you go, Bob. Comments from the board?
I'm curious, you mentioned the current access road being upgraded. To do that, are you gonna have to clear trees that will open any views? You mentioned that none of the adjacent houses can see that property, but just about everybody above that property can see down onto that area.
So there are a couple trees that will need to be removed along the axis. It's really just a thin line of trees right here.
Yeah.
But that's about it in terms of the access road. So there's no trees up here by the road that are being removed, and no trees down in here between these houses and the project site.
So on your right hand side, is that Jericho Hill Road?
Yes.
Okay, and so is that Briarcroft? Is that what that road is I'm looking at there?
Briarcroft?
That goes into Snyder's?
No, it's their driveway,
Private driveway.
Justin's driveway.
Okay,
Briarcroft's a little farther up the hill.
okay.
So you're the engineering planning side of the project?
Right.
I've only briefly looked at the plans, just happened to be here the day they came. I noticed primary and secondary access roads for construction listed out on the overall drawing, and County Route 12 was the primary. What's that delineation describing?
That's generally a construction traffic access
Okay.
routing for trucks that are making deliveries. So once, it's really just at the beginning, once deliveries are made to the project site, that's really when the most of the traffic is there. After that, it's really just construction trucks, you know, trucks or cars that are coming into the site, parking, and then doing the excavation work and then leaving at the end of the day.
The reason I ask is the secondary route was routed over a non-road, a private lane. At the end of Snyder Road that connects to Randolph Road. That's a no outlet, private land road.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What kind of timeline are you looking at?
So usually, you know, in terms of once permitting is finished, you know, say we have the benefit of being a recipient of a special use permit, it's usually 4 months for a 5 megawatt project from beginning to end. So if this is approved, this probably won't go in, and I can't speak for DRS, but probably until spring, probably not until Springville, just the way timing is working out.
You said these are trackable panels, so they actually move as the sun moves?
Correct.
Okay. Is that daily or is that seasonally, or how does that?
Every day.
Yeah, so it'll just track the path essentially as the sun.
We'll return back to the east at the end of the day.
What's the reflective light or the glare effect off those panels?
None, it's pretty much similar to on a cloudy day as far as the reflection. Every photon that bounces off the panels is lost, you know, money and electricity that our client, you know, can't obviously sell to their client. So reflectivity is very low, and that's kind of the analogy, I guess.
Okay. I asked because there's a lot of houses that look down on that property.
Yeah, the thing you're saying, look down from up here.
No,
From here.
no. No. From Snyder Road and farther up Jericho Hill. Yeah, so off the panel there. Yep. I say a lot, it's probably 24.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, the panels won't be pointing, they'll be pointing up and not, downhill. Everything is angled up towards the sky. So even if there was reflectivity, it's pointing up, not down.
Yeah.
Well,
What I'm
but-
saying is like the access goes down this way, so they're gonna try out some of this direction.
Right, so from Snyder Road to your right, they're looking directly at those panels from a couple hundred feet higher in elevation. So looking right down on them.
Yeah, like Dave mentioned, they're, solar panels absorb the sunlight, that comes in for them to be able to generate electricity. So the modules are as like unreflective as humanly possible, just because if not, it wouldn't work really efficiently. So the glare is very, very minimal. And that's very good analysis.
I've never looked at one from above, so I have no idea.
Along the lines of Dan's question earlier, the pilot, that be negotiated via the county IDA through a private scale or?
Possible, yeah, and again, that's probably something that will be discussed as part of, with the host community benefits package directly with DRS. And how they're gonna approach the pilot as well.
Yeah, on that topic, you, Peter, or Dave, rather, will be getting a copy of a letter from North and Shaw indicating that pursuant to real property tax law 487, we will be requiring contract for payments in lieu of taxes. So that's the plan. And we've had some discussion as to whether we want to use the IDA or not, but that all has to be worked out.
Northeast corner of that project. On the drawings I saw is a wooded area. That will be clear cut.
Yes, this area will be cut up to the electric transmission line there.
It'll be clear cut as far as those mature trees. Are they brush? All grass?
Mostly mid-successional to mature trees in that area. Everything up here is remaining, all of this, which is about 400, 500 feet thick, wide.
Right.
And all of this area over here is remaining.
The other thing is they're movable panels. Does each panel have its own motor or do they move in bank?
Those move together. Essentially, they'll end up moving, kind of in like row sections, like individual rows that you put together. And
Okay. So there won't be individual that move in banks. So many panels.
Exactly.
You know where the panels are going to be made? I mean, they're going to be made domestic or what?
So generally, it's going to depend, but it's been very hard to find solar panels right now, especially with similar to construction materials, the way things are moving right now. It's going to depend on what's available at the time of construction. Solar City in Buffalo is one of the few panel manufacturers in the United States. They have not been making panels to the scale of the demand that is required across the country in here in New York. So many panels do come from overseas. But if that's something that the town wishes to try to talk to DRS about as part of the host community benefits agreement and local sourcing.
And some modules too, even if like the entire module is not manufactured in the United States, sometimes sell here and such, but it is very difficult. In general.
The posts and all that going into the ground and 30, 40 years from now, is that already discussed?
Yeah, it's part of the law as far as the bond for disassembly and decommissioning. Is there a plan for maintenance on this once it's installed?
Yeah, and that's been submitted as part of the package, the operation and maintenance plan. Generally in terms of vegetation, every few months. The contract with a local company most likely to do the mowing inside. We have proposed a pollinator friendly buzz seed mix, so it's more of an agricultural seed mix, pollinator friendly. We do want the flowers to grow up a little bit, so that we get that effect, that agricultural effect with bees. And then, you know, they will be cut down so that they don't provide shading on the panels. We don't want them getting too tall.
Is this a battery storage system or direct?
It is, sorry.
There's no battery storage component. So it's just a direct injection.
Are there any other things we should mention tonight from any point of view?
Couple comments to me.
I have a question. I'm having trouble, and thank you for putting the schematic of the site up, but I can't read the labeling. And I'm having trouble locating exactly where this is. Is this County Road 12 on the left-hand side as you look at the drawing?
That's correct.
Okay, and you're coming onto the land between County Road 12 and the power transmission lines?
Yep.
Okay, are you going to be plugging into that power transmission line?
No, too high in voltage. So we show an underground electric line as required by your code from the central equipment pads down to the road and connecting into the poles on Jericho Hill Road.
Okay, I assume there'll be some questions when we do seeker on this, but I'm curious as to what protections for quality of the electricity coming from the 5 megawatt facility and going into the small system down on County Road 12. And I'm specifically talking about harmonics and or what is popularly called dirty electricity.
I can answer that if you'd like, or I can speak to it at least, I would say. So all the pieces of electronics that we use, the main component is the inverter. That's what's going to convert our DC power into AC power, which is going to be injected into the utility grid. So they all need to meet IEEE standards. It's 1741, which dictates basically the quality of the power. Specifically, it looks at the harmonics. I believe these inverters are 99.8% like clean, I guess you would say. I'd have to look at the spec sheet again to make sure I have that appropriate, but they're up to the standard of basically any electricity that's allowed to go onto the utility grid. Also, as part of our approval process, we need to get approval from the utilities. So they take a look at that to make sure that there's not going to be any quality issue. And there's some protection systems that are between essentially the system and the utility grid. Most notably a recloser, or if you disconnect, so this one has a recloser, I believe. And that will also have protection for the utility grid against this project. If there is an issue, say there does start to be issues with the harmonics, and the voltage is too high or too high of a current, it will disconnect the project from the utility grid, so it won't cause any issues.
Well, that line is already loaded with dirty electricity. So following the standards of the company that runs it is not necessarily comforting to me. And I plug into that transmission line on up Jericho Hill, a short distance. But I would expect that during your presentation and during our seeker process, you can provide an analysis and a statement of the things that you just said.
Of course.
John, what are you going to say?
I wanted to go back to the conversation. So chapter 5 of the fire code has a requirement for access roads and that's 150 feet to any portion of that facility. And it currently looks like we don't meet that requirement.
Correct. And New York State, I believe New York State Building Code allows the code enforcement officer to grant a waiver of that if requested, which we likely would.
They have they have the right to either exempt it or modify it. But that conversation needs to happen in the fire department to see what their ability is to defend it. I'm sure that this emergency first responders are going to want to know, how do we get back to the first point? Can we get someone to that point? That's section 503 of the fire code. You might want to take a look at that. Fire code official.
Is this road gonna open up development along it to properties that don't have a road into it right now?
That's not part of our application, no.
Would you be closing the road to property owners to use it for access for housing units?
So the property owner maintains ownership of their road once it's built, so we can't speak to what the property owner's intentions are. However, for our project, we do have a self-locking gate, so that, you know, no one can make it past that into our facility. But I can't speak to the property owner's intentions for projects that aren't related to this one.
Also, going back to the pollinator species, are you guys looking to use a scorecard to let the board know what your plan is for your plant? Or how are you going to identify what you're using?
Yep, so we have a seed table on the last sheet of our drawing set that specifies all the species that are proposed in that seed mix. And then there's a couple other seed mixes in there with species for, you know, areas that are not within the array that, you know, if there's a wet meadow mix or maybe an upland mix along the road, but those are on that last sheet.
Those are all the items.
Yes, yep, they're all right on there.
And whether there be any type of score to the species that you're using. Some of the other projects I see are coming in with Vermont scorecards. This is X amount friendly to pollinators. Vermont scorecard that works very well in New York.
Yeah, we don't, I've never used that, on our projects, but, we could probably get you a scorecard for the seed mix that's proposed. It's a very traditional, Pleasant Buzz from Ernst Conservation, which is a renowned brand for seed, just over the border in PA. But we do list, all the species by percentage in that seed mix.
I guess the other point I bring up is one, if you look at the application for completion. So, part one of the, after you review that, well, I can review that or nothing. You still have to do the intent to be the agency. So nothing can happen from the board until those letters are sent out. It's a 30-day time frame for them to be. Then after that 30 days expires, we just start the process. Once that process starts, we'll then have to send it over to the county for the review under 239. Okay. So I just wanted this board to be aware of, there's still some stuff that has to take place. First step is looking at part one of it. Looking at the complete list, making sure there's no other comments or questions or anything. Whatever interested parties there may be, then send it to the county ag department. I don't know if there's any state roads out there or not, but it's really, naturally, all that. So I'm sure you're all familiar with that one.
Okay, good. That's good for us to know. Is there anything else we need to do tonight?
The only
From
thing
anyone's point of view?
I see that you need to do tonight is if you're gonna appoint Jonathan Shaw Mandela to do the review, get them on the board so we can start looking at this application, moving that forward. Are you guys accepting documents on behalf of Holy River?
As far as comment memos and
For real property tax law 487. If you guys submitted an application, we have 30 days to respond to the developer. We'll put you on notice that we'll be planning to work. Yeah, we're not going to allow 487.
that's all directly with the DRS. They handle all the financial items.
That letter you understand.
Okay,
I do have that in email, and I can answer the way email.
okay, excellent. Thank you. Any other comments from anybody? Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I just, to Sean's point, is it possible to initiate the coordinated review today so that we can get comments from all the agencies on the EAF at the same time as Labella and address them all at the same time? Or,
We gotta make sure that what we're sending out is a complete. So we still gotta review what portion of it, which is that stuff might take a couple days. I guess I shouldn't speak for enough and talk about at this point, because they haven't.
Right.
so you have, by your code, that 6 days, 7 days to declare the application complete upon receipt, I believe. If I remember correctly.
And
And but the code enforcement officer has to make a determination that the application is complete.
I don't know when this application was.
This application is dated June 3. Now, the letter to us is, right? that-
We received it the day we had the meeting with you and
We
Lavella.
Yeah, that was June. I believe it was
And
June.
you said that. Oh, that was the third, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we have 10 days from the third to the 13th.
Business day, right?
I believe it's this business day. We could probably get something out next week that should be.
And then the only other item is in our preliminary conversations with the town clerk. We have, as a courtesy, just forwarded copies of everything to the county, here, and Michelle, right?
Soon as on the planning board.
Yeah. Just because there's so many copies that they require. So they have us on their agenda for next Wednesday, but I think that requires a 239 formal motion for a 239 referral, and whether or not the board wants to do that. But they have all the copies of everything at the county.
Is the situation around the zoning permit and the special use permit and discussed?
They're aware that they need a special use permit.
I believe it's in the packet.
There's an application for it.
I guess my question to that comment would be, the town would refer that to the county and the river. Once they have, they believe the county referral.
Yeah, we sent it as a courtesy, and we did ask for doing so.
As the town was out there, they're gonna send it, you know, it's a process.
We provided a copy of the referral form as part of our submission as well, for review by the town board.
So I guess my question is, what is the ask? The county.
If the board wishes to, but and the county is ready to review it.
No, we're not doing that tonight.
I think that's what it could be still on your part one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or information or?
Did you say you had someone join remotely? Would they be one of these phone numbers?
914, yeah, I think that's Pete.
No, they needed to weigh in on comment on anything.
I don't know if they can hear us or not. Pete's on. Pete or Alyssa, are you on?
Muted if you are. Don't want to unmute anyone.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave,
Alyssa.
yes, yep, sorry, both Alyssa and I are on. We got in late, we had the wrong number, but we did hear the last part, I guess, maybe 7:15 forward. So if there's any questions I can answer now, I can answer them.
Pete would be the one to answer any of the pilot or community benefit questions or 47 questions.
Yeah, from my point of view, I want to learn a little bit more about what's going on before I ask any more questions.
I don't really think there's a question. This is something. This is what we intend.
Anyone else
Okay.
comment?
Yes, the town clerk or Sean will let us know who we're dealing with at North and Shaw and Labella.
Yes. Yes, we plan to appoint them tonight and we'll get that information to you.
We've worked with them before, so.
Good. Okay, I guess,
I came with a
Yes.
question, but I don't know if it's appropriate here.
try it out.
All right. I think this is the application that went into the NICEAG queue, right? You're on the NICEAG queue? And there needs to be a system upgrade.
I don't know specifically.
There's a really small, we're a tiny little Alfred group compared to this crew. But we went in on the queue and it took them like 3.5 weeks to approve us. You went in and they approved you within 36 hours. Because they approved you before they approved us, we became liable for your 400 and whatever $1,000 upgrade is necessary, which has thrown us out of the ability to do a locally based solar thing here in town. That made the small little Alfred group that was working on this wait for, so until our time clock ran out. Last week or this week or sometime recently, I wrote to NICEAG and I said, I think this is so blatantly wrong because we had set up for cases and then Elliot said no, so we moved to Liz Cronin's like 2 miles away with the same application. They put us back at the beginning of the queue, didn't look at us for 3 weeks, and you guys walk in and you're approved in 36 hours. It seems so blatantly wrong that I wrote to NICEAG and they immediately wrote back and apologized and said, you're right. So we're in a conversation with them right now. I'm still not clear what, if they waive some of that or what, but are you guys gonna pay your substation upgrade soon so that it gets it off our plate, or are we gonna have to sit around and wait for you to upgrade?
Keith, do you want to touch
Okay,
on that?
Yeah, this is Pete, and I think I got most of what you were saying. It was a little hard to hear. I would have to check. I don't have all that in front of me. I don't remember off the top of my head when our upgrades are due, based on the day count from NICEAG. I believe we might have made our 25% payment. I apologize. I don't have it in front of me, but if you could maybe email me tomorrow, I could discuss it with you. So I can't comment, but I know NICEAG has their particular rules there of, what they charge folks, and what they're going to collect in their deposits, the 25% payment, the 75% payment. So if I have more of the information, I could certainly go through that with you. I just don't have it in front of me.
You paid your 25 in December. Are you just gonna let the clock run down and pay as late as you can?
That is typically the route we take. We pay closer to the end of the cycle as we go through everything. So if you have that in front of you and that's what it says, yes, that's what we would do. And it would be coming up, relatively soon then.
All right, thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Okay, well, thank you for coming and making the presentation. We'll be in touch and all the various parties will be communicating.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna walk out.
Okay, excellent. Okay. We'll go to the next order of business, which is approval of the minutes. You all got an electronic copy of the 2 prior meetings. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, is there a motion? Thanks for coming. Move approval. Second? I'll second. All in favor, aye? Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, let's just run down the list here. We need to make a declaration on the seeker for the Palmer gravel mine application. And according to my understanding, that we have in place the the requirements that will be in effect for this having to do with number of tons of gravel, working hours, restrictions on chemicals and storage on the site, berm height for the purpose of visual and noise deflection, dust level requirements, slope and site maintenance, and an agreement here or a requirement with regard to security for rehabilitation at the end of the mine.
Have we seen that?
I think it came
It
from,
was
that was,
last month, right?
There's like six, yeah,
yeah,
I knew at the meeting you referred to the fifth draft and the sixth draft, but I
that's the latest one. And
I don't think those have been coming out to all of
I
us.
think, yeah, we went
Did
to Dan, Bill, Fred, myself, and Jan.
Okay, so it didn't come to the rest of us.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's it.
And I caught some that had gone to Bill, but I knew I wasn't getting regular.
I apologize, I thought I forwarded it to everybody after I got it. Because I usually do.
do you want me to read through that for
No,
everyone?
I'll forward it to everybody just so you have it.
Did you get it, Matthew?
No.
I don't think so. I haven't seen a recent email about it.
I had seen a previous one at the ZBA meeting,
This is
was,
one I'm looking at, yeah.
No, this is
That's his application, but,
it's the conditions.
Jake Frederickson put out a list of the conditions that were going to be on the, summary, that were on the seeker document. Mr. Robert, I need to adhere to.
I just feel funny voting on it when, not having read it, it's being a two-page document.
We're not voting on the stipulation.
Oh, okay,
That's up to the.
No, because that's what
Okay.
that's the ZBA's. So
you're right,
we're
okay.
just using that information as a basis to make a declaration. So
Yeah, but it's up to six now. Working draft number six.
Yeah,
Right.
there's been a lot of revisions. There's been a lot of language cleaned up and altered. I didn't have everybody's address.
I'll go make a copy for mine.
Bill, did you get a copy of it?
I don't think so.
You want to read it out loud? You want me to read it out loud? Sure.
I can read it out
She's
loud.
just making copies.
I can read it.
Start, then you can stop when she arrives.
Following conditions and restrictions are to be met and maintained as a requirement of the special use permit issued by the town of Alfred ZBA to Ray Palmer. The application is categorized as a seeker unlisted action by the town of Alfred. The permit limits excavation to a quantity of less than 1,000 tons per year of sand and gravel. The loader operator to keep and maintain a daily logbook listing the quantities extracted, and that logbook and the site itself is to be available for inspection by the town of Alfred and the New York State DEC. A yearly report on excavated quantities shall be submitted to the town and the New York State Minerals Division by no more than 30 days after the end of the calendar year. The operation is subject to all conditions of the town of Alfred zoning law, section 406.04. Permitted hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Additionally, as a condition of this permit, it is required that operation of equipment and trucks stop at 12 noon on Saturday. All fuels or chemicals must be stored and utilized following applicable New York State and/or federal safety guidelines. No pesticides or herbicides shall be used, and fuel spill prevention and containment measures must be available and implemented where fuels, etc., are stored and handled. A berm must be safely constructed and maintained at a height which will effectively serve as both a visual screen as well as a noise deflector. The gravel screening process be located behind the berm, and at all times noise is to be kept as low as is reasonably achievable. Dust levels must be kept as low as reasonably achievable. Brine and chemical applications are subject to regulation and must be approved by New York State DEC. Slopes and conditions of the site must be maintained to prevent concentrated streams or runoff from the site. Slopes, equipment, and conditions at the site must be maintained to be safe with fencing and appropriate hazard warning signage protections maintained across the top of the working face. The permitted area of extraction is 1.25 acres for future extraction of gravel. Alfred Town Mining Law, Section 406.05 requires a surety bond or insurance in an amount that provides funding for rehabilitating the area affected upon completion of operations. Such an instrument must be established and maintained to the satisfaction of the town. The required standard for closure rehabilitation shall be the standard in use by the DEC at the time the quarry is closed. Can we keep going?
If you want, or is it necessary?
No, no.
Okay,
Now we can see it.
okay, everyone can read it. Essentially, it's requiring a CD in the amount of $5,000 per acre, and each time it's renewed, it has to be renewed at a CPI of 2%. And so he gives us that 6250. We buy, the town buys a CD. We keep it in our name for rehabilitation. When it matures, and let's say it's 3 years, he gives us an additional amount to reflect a 2% increase, and we roll over the CD at the higher rate, and it just keeps going.
So tonight, we're just proving that this is a seeker unlisted action. Is that what I
Tonight,
understand?
what we're doing is we're using this information to make a declaration that there's no significant impact, that is a negative declaration of impact of this project, and then the ZBA will actually implement this.
Okay.
So we have this document, and we also have a record of all of the interested parties or agencies that were contacted: National Fuel, DOT, SHPO, Railroad. And we did get replies from 2 of those who indicated that they had no problems with it. We didn't hear from any others, to my knowledge. Yeah, that's the one from DOT, right? So I think, and we've had public comment, and I believe we're at a point where we can resolve to make a declaration. So I'm going to move that town board, for purposes of the seeker, make a negative declaration on this project. Is there, there's a second from Matthew, discussion.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe it's me being dense. I understand that these are the conditions for the special use permit.
Right.
And then there's also conditions that come with the seeker. Are those sets of conditions one and the same?
I believe that this, yes.
Okay.
That's all I know. That's my best answer.
Well, I understand from reading the zoning law that these are the conditions that go with the special use
Right.
permit. And the other parallel process went along. And so I guess it appears that they've rejoined. And is that what we're saying?
The way I conceive of it is that the conditions for the special use permit are what give us the basis to make a negative declaration. So I guess the information crosses, but that's the best I've got.
Okay, a lot of learning to do here.
Wendy, if you look at the actual speaker form, the zoning board of appeals went through this.
Right,
They,
I know, I was there.
under different sections, they put comments,
Mhm.
and I believe those comments are now part of this.
And a lot of other discussion. We attended a couple of the ZBA meetings. It just seems like seeker and special use zoning have become very confused, muddled, for lack of a better word. And maybe that's the way it's always going to be. And maybe this is just my learning curve.
Can I
I
comment?
agree.
Can I comment on that?
Please do.
Okay, in the seeker manual, there's a specific section which clarifies that in a project of this nature, where you don't declare special conditions attached to the seeker determination, you can do that because you're going to be attaching those conditions to the special use permit. And a project of this scope, where you have clearly identified things in seeker that need to be mitigated in order to issue a negative declaration of impact, it is okay for them to be put with the special use permit.
Okay, that helps. That they really were two, and now they've become one.
Yes.
Essentially,
Fred, am I correct? I felt that the seeker was a learning study tool to come up with the conditions for the special use permit.
well, in this case, yes, but
Yeah.
normally, when you come up with those conditions, you would issue a conditioned negative declaration.
Yes,
which-
yes, and then you'd have a list, sure.
And that has to go back to the interested agencies. It has to be published at the state level, and it has to be published in the paper. And so it's a very extended, lengthy process that is
Sure.
intended for bigger projects.
So if I can summarize, what the declaration of no impact is saying is that the seeker being considered, these are the only conditions that apply. Because there is no negative impact. There's no significant impact by this project.
Because we are mitigating
That's right.
with the special conditions on the special use permit, yes.
Yeah.
But it's,
So-
that wording is not generally put in the negative deck. We're just declaring that there's a negative declaration of impact, but you could put that additional wording in there
Mhm.
if you want to, but it's not needed, it's not required. We're issuing a negative declaration, and then we're taking the move of putting mitigating
Our concerns under the town law, under the
yes,
special use permit.
and that is specifically in the seeker manual, that is specifically mentioned as being kosher.
Okay.
All right, that helps a lot.
Yes.
That's a good
Yes,
question.
it does.
that
They
Wendy
just,
raised.
those processes feel like they've become entwined, and I wasn't sure that they were supposed to be entwined.
And
They are.
But yes, Fred, you've helped us a lot. So we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. We've discussed it. Is there any more discussion? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. All right. Moving on. Thank you all.
Thick this folder this week.
Oh, sure. I've got my own.
Yeah.
He had no idea what he was getting into.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks to the ZBA,
Yeah.
Freddie and Fred, for all of your help getting us this far. We really appreciate it.
Don't go anywhere. We got more.
Oh, yeah.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Okay. We're gonna double your salary, Freddie.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you all got a copy, electronic copy of the police report. Any comments on that? It was fairly typical. Okay, code enforcement report. Did we get one, Jan? No.
Wait a minute, we didn't discuss the donkey on the front porch.
I. Yeah, well. what
Is
you
that the
have to
horse
say
running
about
through
it?
town?
Yeah.
Whose donkey was it?
Was it?
Even worse.
Oh.
But I don't know if it's his or the people renting the house.
Was it a donkey or a horse?
What about the horse?
Yeah, yeah. All I know about the
Oh,
donkey.
probably still going.
No, they loaded it up at the old shorts.
The horse needs to handle. They came from home.
That's a long way around. No, the horse wasn't.
And you came over and cleaned up the new rug down for it.
Well, that's how they got him off the porch. They had to assist him.
And you said the police report was routine.
Yeah. Horses, donkeys, you know.
You know.
Routine for Alfred, maybe? Okay. Monthly report, Jan, any comments on that?
No.
Okay.
We received the first portion of our mortgage tax, which is almost as much as we budgeted.
Well,
Again, yeah, it was over 800. And budgeted 5,000. And then we did another big one later in the year, so.
goodness. Every little bit of it. Okay. Okay, correspondence, do we have correspondence? No. I guess one round with Freddie was enough. Huh?
I'm gonna say, she only went to 2 meetings.
She's moving into the village. And then we also have, an association town, an update on the American Rescue Plan Act.
Yeah,
Didn't say much.
didn't say much.
Well, that's
No.
about all they know. I've been going weekly on this site, and that's all we know, but.
The money may be coming, we still don't know what you can use it for.
Coming through the state. and stuff, you know, so, yeah.
What was the thing? I didn't understand the last line about requiring some kind of account.
A SAM account or whatever.
Is
Yeah,
that-
I have done numbers, yeah.
I assumed we had a DUNS number, but I didn't know about a SAM account.
I gotta set that up, yeah. It's just giving them a check, an account number where they can direct deposit money.
Oh, okay.
Through the US Treasury.
You'll be doing that. Okay.
Okay, so we don't have to act on any of that correspondence. Then.
What are we-
I guess we have to accept the resignation.
We need to start thinking about it.
Actually, Freddie has somebody in mind. He was going to make an inquiry,
Okay.
so we'll see what he gets back. Well, time will tell.
Right.
Do we have to, I guess we have to accept this resignation from Jen Smith. So I move we accept with gratitude her resignation from CBA. Is there a second?
One second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then, and
Freddie's shaking his head.
I don't blame you. She was a good secretary.
I want to jump ahead in the agenda for the benefit of Sean, just in case he has anything to add. I want to go to the issue of the contract with Shaw and Knopf and Shaw. And you all got a copy of this via email dated June 4. So my understanding is, I'm going to move that we accept this, but my understanding is that they are going to be our legal representatives for Northland Power, for other small projects or other projects, solar projects in the town. And they're going to assist in negotiating the pilot community host benefits. And then they go in the second page to do, make reference to the fact that those items which are not considered approved local agency activities will be paid for by funds put in escrow from the developers, which have yet to be obtained, but that's their intention.
Don't forget updating our solar law and developing a battery storage law.
Yes, where was that on?
Right before that, yeah. It's there. It's the,
Oh,
just before the part.
oh,
two.
yeah. Battery energy storage system law development, solar study. So do we have any comments on this? I'm gonna move that we engage them. Is there a second to that motion?
Second, it seemed very
Can I
straightforward,
third?
reasonable. I kept looking for what I was missing and I didn't find that I was missing anything. I was impressed with how straightforward it seemed.
Yeah. It's understandable and, any more discussion? Obviously, we need help. These guys know what they're doing.
So the contract with,
Lavelle, that's yet to come. And the contract with Sean is yet to come tonight. Yeah. Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's done.
Can I make just one comment?
Yes.
while you're on the topic?
Please.
You also need a motion for River. Motion for Dwight to send the proper paperwork to have them set up an escrow to write that funding.
Okay. You want to repeat that, and Jan will write it down. The motion is, again,
The motion is to have your legal representation send a letter for escrow to pay for all third parties.
Delaware River.
right, Delaware Rivers.
So that way, the way they'll send the letter, then you guys will set up an account with the wherever, and that money will be deposited in there to pay for the waste services.
Okay, that's a motion. I will second it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
No,
Yeah.
you can't. I'll make it. I'll make it.
Jan.
An honorary member of the board.
When you read the minutes, you'll see somebody else's name in there.
Okay, so Wendy's gonna
Wendy
sign.
made the motion.
Yeah.
Dan seconded it.
All right, Wendy made the motion. I
You
second.
guys see dirty, you should move into your chair.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Okay. Now,
Is there any other questions for me? If not,
well, we need to get a contract
the way they'll be sending it
to
over.
hire you. All right, so that's our intention when we get that. Can we approve it contingent on getting the contract? Otherwise, we're not gonna meet for a month. Do you need that contract?
We'll figure that part out. It's
Okay.
only 30 days. I just want to make sure before we enter into that, to Delaware River. I don't want to.
Okay.
They came back and said, we're not paying for Sean. They legally have to pay for Captain Dwight. So they can argue mine. But I just want to make sure they're not going to give you guys a hard time.
So the next thing we will get from you is a copy, from Dwight, rather, a copy of the contract to employ you.
Yeah,
Assuming-
so basically the way to send out that. That letter.
Right.
They'll respond to it if they accept it. I'll send you.
Okay, excellent. And that contract will be for Sean to do also the code enforcement on the small projects.
From development all the way through construction.
Okay, excellent. I think we've got our bases covered at the moment, but
Do we,
times,
is that anything that we have to do special so that it's not a conflict with our current code enforcement?
I don't think so, since we're contracting him as, he's not an employee.
That's great. I just,
Yeah.
I'm just in contact with the party to work on some project. I wouldn't have any authority in the town other than that.
that's cool.
Good point.
And I'd just like to quickly say that coming into this meeting tonight and also with Northland, it was really nice to be as prepared as we have been. Thanks to Jan and Sean for making it happen.
Yeah.
We were able to ask some good questions.
Yeah.
Felt like we were pretty well prepared.
We had a conversation on time, and from all the projects, so he knows what is on the table.
Can I ask Sean a question? Where is it written? Kind of related. Where is it written that the describes what these smaller solar projects pay in the community host agreements or,
Local agencies.
and yeah,
It's not written. You have to discuss with the developer. I can tell you the town of Burn, 1,500 went to a pilot and 25.
so it's more or less, it's not written in Article 10 or 94C for the smaller,
It's all between the town and the.
Okay.
Wherever they go.
But we do have the ability to negotiate that.
You do, and then with that letter. Yeah. That's why I brought that letter tonight is to put it on.
Okay.
What is that?
I couldn't find it any place that it was written.
If you read that letter states that the town's intention is to enter into a pilot and the whole.
Is there a certain size where this kicks in, that we can do this? Okay.
It's required to be permitted. So if you read that letter, the White already put it in there, that the intention of the town and effort to develop around.
Yep.
And that's why I tried to make it clear tonight to the Bergman as well as you just can't send it to the county. And it's the board's responsibility, at least to make sure that they that to the town, with a courtesy review next week, but just when I get that officially.
That's why my fault. She asked me if I would like her to send the whole package, and I said, well, sure, but you'd like to send it that meeting. So that, and I did, now they got it.
Yeah.
But they did ask to have it.
So that stuff might change at that case, and we don't know. I just wanted to make sure I didn't want them to try to put you guys forward too quickly.
We appreciate everything you're doing.
I have a comment.
Yes.
And that is that I think the review of the town law, and it should incorporate specifics regarding the questions that were just posed as to what our position is on that. It should be, cut in stone in the town law as our new attorney reviews that of our authority that we're exerting. It seems to me like there's a little bit of confusion here. Some of these companies are liable to be going to the county first and getting all kinds of things rolling with the county planners and stuff. And that should be in our law, that we're in control of that. And that we can opt to make the pilot agreements, et cetera. And also, I believe, Bill, I believe that the initial solar guidance manual that we had gotten a hold of several months ago has some clarifying statements on what we can and cannot do or should and shouldn't do. So we should go back and review that again, that big solar that manual put out by NYSERDA and the state.
Yeah, good point, Fred. On that topic, do we have any risk that the IDA is gonna execute a pilot before we have a chance to give them any input or what?
No, Craig will work with you, Craig's free to work with.
Okay.
But you already put the developer on the whole community benefit agreement.
Mhm.
Now that's what Craig, I noticed that you got to do them all.
Okay.
You guys will be working on that whole. I'll work with the town of Burns is. The town actually got about 60% of the whole pie. The school, normally 50%.
Whole pilot time?
And host, if you look at it both together. Between the host and the pilot. The town got about 60%. School got 20, the county got 20. And that argument was made that. This project doesn't send kids to school, there's no burden to it. The other argument was made is. There's an issue with this project, it's up to this board to fight. So all the burden is on the town, not the school. And that's where the way to come in, that's what the host is. So as soon as you get that host agreement done, you're gonna wanna make sure okay, you're getting 60% or $2,500, then you're covered in just your standard for what you know, taxes are, but you're already getting. That's why you trade it.
All right, we'll rely on Dwight and we'll do that.
Yeah, Dwight and I do the one pilot over in Burns. We've done one dam, so. As well as the main county, but. We try to make sure that the town. That's up to the town board at the end of the day, the way I come to you and say, are you guys okay with these numbers? And Craig is real good about saying, okay, I'll make this part work over here. So usually it's around 5,000 to 5,500 is a whole pie. You guys go in and take 50% of that right off the top and put that in the agreement at 2,500. Another 2,500 you put up and then you guys can get that standard.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Is that,
Good.
is that number, is that true regardless of scale, or is that for small ones or big ones?
We haven't seen one officially on a large scale. Or about 200 in the town. And
Negotiated by per megawatt.
yeah, for megawatt. Those host agreements are a lot more detailed. The one that the draft amount one is that agreement, I think it's 56 pages right now, it's still growing. Because we're putting all the road use agreements in there, all this stuff, there's a lot of detail that goes in.
Would any of that be needed on a small one? Like what this one was proposed tonight, road use agreements and whatnot?
You should have something in your town law anyway. I will talk to Dwight about that, but when you're bringing panels up there, you just maybe spray your road, you want to make sure they replace it. So that'll be part of the conversation going forward as well.
How heavy are the panels?
And then how many they put on a truck.
Okay,
That's just
fair
where
enough.
semi trucks are going up.
Okay.
They're, I think roughly 60 pounds of panel without the frames. But they're almost 3 foot by 5 foot.
So if you got 50,000 panels going up there, 10,000 panels, you got 6 semis going on your town road, you want to make sure you don't destroy your road. Where you would like that. So on the big projects, like you guys got your 100 megawatt project coming. What we did is we're making them do a survey of our before. And it's going to be a visual survey done with a drone, documented pictures, all that. But it has to be at least that or better one. So you want that documentation.
Now, is the funding for road use repair separate from the big pie we've been talking about?
Yeah, that is what they do. They'll bond that project.
We really, I think we really should do a comprehensive town-wide road use agreement. Covers all of our towns, roads, for any uses, whether it's logging or solar or ATVs or loose horses running there. If they've got shoes, they'll tear up the pavement.
Any steel wheels?
Just on my tractors.
Yeah. What we're seeing is the specific. We're talking about here. About their taking. Okay, this is the way to go on. Can't vary from this.
I'm pretty sure the village of Alfred is not gonna want all of those trucks going through the middle of town. Route 12. I mean, you get past the main section of downtown and North Main Street narrows down to where.
Do it every day.
There's no, I've never seen any posted limit, tonnage limit on the village road, right? And
No, just a few bridges.
we were talking about County Route 12 being the main access to that site, right? So through the county, so that's a county maintained road. The county doesn't have it, it's not either. It's built for truck and trailer, it's built for.
The county can do it, you know, and you guys can work on it, you know, the county. Biggest thing is short the route that you're taking, and then you take it.
I think the biggest danger and damage would be when they're turning and stuff, not so much hauling, because they're gonna be within.
That's what you'll. I like the discussion I brought up earlier about the access road, because we'll get more involved in that conversation. But the radius for turning into that, we have that fully full radius at this point, but we're not going to that. We're gonna show more access roads. You know, some of the land, they don't want to deal with turning. There's a lot of different things.
Assuming that the small project will be more involved with our solar law. Even if there's recommendations from the attorney about improvements to the solar law, is this group working on the solar law as it stands today? Since they've submitted it?
I would assume
I
so.
would assume so too.
But the attorneys thought our solar law was pretty good. That's what
Yeah,
they
he thought it
wanted.
was pretty, well, I think that's doable. The stuff that I'm talking about is coming from the uniform code now.
Right, I
So
understand that.
so as you guys go through your site plan review, which is the process, you can ask for that. The last thing we want is for you guys to get your, you know, site plan approval, but use on it, but also make like you open from it, because you don't need to. Well, we're going to reincorporate this.
Okay, any other comments for Sean? Thanks for coming,
Thank you.
Sean. We really
See
appreciate
you
it.
soon.
And we'll hop on that counter meeting next. We can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to Michelle.
Yeah, I'll talk to her as well.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
This has nothing to do with the other project that was brought up last month,
Correct.
about the one on Timber Hill, right?
Correct.
Have a good night, all.
Nice.
Thank you.
Well, the agreement does, but not what we're just talking about.
They're two separate projects, yeah.
We have two things for you to sign because I have this.
Timber Hill part of the
on
North Line Road.
Yeah.
The engagement was the line that you signed.
Shut that down already.
Okay.
That was years ago.
That was years ago. Should happen.
Okay, abstracts, let's see what we got. So the general fund doesn't look too bad. Yeah. And let's do them as a package. Let's also talk about the highway fund. Abstracts, we got suit code,
Yeah, I was gonna.
yeah. Oh, okay, so we got our bill on the joystick, right? Um,
Is that?
Everybody was a lot of gravel, so I had to have it somewhere. It was cheaper, $7 a ton, so.
Any comments on either the general or the highway bills? Is there a motion to pay the bills?
So just on the
Yes.
general fund,
Yes.
so one on the table, National Fuel came. Right. So that's been added, to that one. And I heard on the Last month, you questioned the National Food Road, that was 2 months.
So
So this,
there, do we have to write one in on here?
it's on the one over there that you signed.
Oh, okay,
I did,
okay,
but I just signed our
Okay.
copies.
okay.
Move and pay these bills.
Thank you, Matthew. Is there a second? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you all. Bob, you're on.
So you like line 14 that, so this one is Brian, thank you for the truck. We've got, well, Costco, Stone Oil, verdict man off in Barbara Lane, like on East Valley. Pink Stone, pipes on East Valley, water wells, and verdict, most over, all gravel, to top, for Pittsburgh. Okay, cold mix for East Valley, that's for Pittsburgh, all materials for the village health and sewer plant, bath. Number 6 stone from bath to village. And help town and home and all gravel and, end of the life, no.
If you go back to slope and come back to gravel.
Yep.
Okay.
That's right.
Both ways.
So just for, so I have this in my, in reserve. How many trips did you make to Bath roughly?
Just one.
Oh, just one?
One time, then came back to the town.
Okay.
And number 6 stone is for, these price, yeah. They asked if I do it, I said, yeah. It's just going back in.
No?
That's big stone.
No.
Number 6 stone.
That's from Avoca.
Yeah.
Oh, right back.
They're just down the road from each other.
Okay.
Any other comments for Bob?
I think what you're saying about East Valley.
You want to see it? What I did for East Valley, there are no 4 inches down on the shoulders, 4 foot wide on both sides. So I opened that part of the road. Some spots would be 21, some spots would be 19. Average about 20, just say 23.5. So here, wait probably end of July, 1st of August, go up that 4 foot inside, it's all covered for the wind. Then next year, I'll go from Fisher Road to Vernon, shoot the whole road, so it'll be all covered.
Seal coated?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll work my way.
Essentially, that's what you did on water wells, right?
Yeah, but that hill, I just black. This I think is gonna work better, now I got a 4 inch, with an inch.
Does it affect your crown at all?
No, because it's, money already, I hopefully we can tie it together, that's what we're playing.
Good. Okay, Bob, we appreciate it. Okay, supervisor's report. So we got at least half of it done. We got to do an audit. Did you get my email about maybe doing the? I'll just throw this out. The auditor informed us that there should be an annual audit of the clerk and the supervisor. And there's a form very much like the one we use for the court audit to do that. So I'm looking for a volunteer from the board to do it. So I'll throw it out there and people can think it over. Is that something that they would be happy
Are they
to?
separate or one?
I think they're separate ones.
I have the forms up. Very similar to what you see.
It's like a 2-pager.
Okay. I'm open to doing that.
Thank you,
Depends on
Matt.
the other ones.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking, that you're skilled in that, so.
I don't know about skill, but familiar maybe.
I'm trying to pump you up.
Don't pump too far, might blow up.
So I think my understanding is that Knopf and Shaw is going to propose a battery storage law, but I'm going to get that confirmed. That's what I think is going to be happening as a result of that. So I'll just follow up on that. Now, it was suggested at a recent meeting that maybe we should meet with the IDA to talk about the pilots, whether we even wanted to do a pilot. So I'm not really sure how we should move on that, whether, so I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe the first thing to do is to talk with Knopf and Shaw and see what they recommend.
Yeah, from my perspective, now that we have them, I feel much more confident to be more involved with the process directly. And let the county be a part, but not rely on the county to do the whole thing for us.
The only thing I'd say to that is something, I think Sean mentioned, that we all through, is that if the town takes on the pilot negotiating, we have a limitation on us that the IDA doesn't have.
Okay.
Maybe the term of the pilot or something. I may have misheard it, but if Sean said, if the town takes it on, you can't do this. and I don't know what.
I need to find that out.
Yeah, I think I remember what you're saying. It was, yeah,
What he said is the normally we could negotiate a 15-year pilot. The IDA can possibly negotiate a 20-year pilot.
I think that's what it was. I'm not saying we have to exclude them, but I feel like we should be much more actively a part of that.
I would suggest that we get Dwight's opinion as to what is the proper move here.
Yeah.
And let them carry the ball. Okay, I'll do that.
Well, can I ask one other
Yes,
question
yes,
on
yes.
solar? This might be. I'm just curious with our current law, it talks about foliage and whatnot to block the view. What perspective is that supposed to be blocking from?
Well, they talk about the sighting from a highway or a road driving by. The distances away from any occupied homes or buildings can't be visible from, say, the neighbor's house. And even if they have to bring in mature, bigger trees or shrubs to do it, they have to put up a visibility barrier that meets our approval.
Right.
Is that right, Fred?
Yeah, that's my understanding, yeah. They were talking about doing a prison fence, chain link kind of prison fence that they just mentioned that, but that's not really a visual screen.
Yeah, this one wasn't going to be that style, but it wasn't a visual screen either. I just was curious because I drove past it the other day, and from Jericho Hill, it is fully screened by the trees. You can't see up into those fields, at least in the summer. But from above it on Jericho or from Snyder Road, you can see the whole thing.
Yeah.
Plain as day. And they really couldn't hide it.
I'm pretty sure when they're talking visibility, they're talking ground level visibility, like you would look
Directly adjacent.
directly at it.
On the road. But we would have some latitude. We would have some latitude there, I would think. Because people looking down on it
Yeah.
aren't going to be protected.
No, I mean, all the way up Jericho Hill, the rest of those houses can look right down on it. And all of Snyder Road can look right down on it. I mean, my house looks right at it. It's,
Really? But spruce trees from Kent Farms.
well, they still wouldn't block the view because it's such a steep.
I could say you'd have to have a.
What if you put the trees on the neighbor's property?
They have to put the trees in each homeowner's property to block looking
I
at it.
mean, is that possible?
No,
They don't have to be on site, do they?
no.
Hasn't happened anywhere else in the county. On private property. It has on site, but not on property.
But, homeowners can say, yeah, you want to put 10, 7-foot trees in my front yard? Maybe
They do advertise that there are fast growing trees and shrubs that will attain like 4 to 5 feet growth every year. Now, how effective or how strong they would be, like wind resistance and storm damage. I have no idea.
And here's another wrinkle in it. If you drive around, all the evergreens are dying. And it doesn't seem to matter whether they're blue spruce, white spruce, Norway spruce. Your larch are dying.
Really?
Yeah,
There's a few that are surviving. but-
yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of trees that are dying, and so it's like, what are you gonna use? So I don't know. Okay,
Sorry to sidetrack.
no, that's a good point.
There is one other thing that the town might require, and that is a, from vantage points throughout the view shed, what is the footprint going to look like? And I've seen it in environmental impact statements where there's aesthetic concerns, that you ask them to prepare maps so that from this area, that's what the footprint is going to look like. How many acres was this going to be?
About
30.
30 acres. So that's a fairly big thing, but from where you are, Matt, wouldn't it be interesting to say, okay, where is it exactly and how big a blotch is that going to be? And it's within our purview to ask them to prepare some maps that show that.
Well, we have some maps.
I haven't seen any of that stuff, so I'm kind of operating at a loss there. And
Yeah,
that
they did pretty good. Pretty good blueprint style
We're
of
gonna be
it.
home tomorrow, Fred.
can I get copies of that? And I would suggest that you rely on the zoning board of appeals people and on the planning board people to advise the town board as to what whether this is a complete application. That's one of the tasks that you have to decide. What is it a
Well, they have
complete application?
for the special use permit, correct? But yeah.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
seen
that's-
any of that stuff yet.
Yeah, I think we can get you a copy.
I can,
I can email it.
I have an extra hard copy here that
I was
maybe,
gonna say, I'm gonna be out tomorrow morning anyway. I can drive it up and drop it off.
yeah.
Wonderful,
I've
thank
got-
you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, next topic, Zoom equipment. As I forwarded to you information from Ian, we're thinking about having a permanent setup here, so we don't have to use this projector. Ian wants to get a voice-activated camera for $1,000. Well, now, but the thing is, we may be able to use our COVID funds for this because it's the result of COVID. And we have to find out a little more about it. You're talking about maybe a 50 or 75 foot.
We're gonna put storage on the other side of it. There we go. Hey.
Little drive-in movie theater when we're not.
We just built one wall of our new equipment storage.
I can make the observation that from here on Jericho Hill, the voices are, some of you have voices that are very clearly heard, but like Sean's voice is very soft and I can't understand clearly what he's saying. So if you can improve a directional microphone with a directional camera or more microphone.
Could there be multiple microphones, couple of them?
Yeah, these things. Several of those together.
Maybe that's the way it could be. It's a long ways over there.
What is this cost roughly?
That was under $100.
Okay, because what I'm thinking is, and I'll ask Ian to check into this as well, but maybe a 50 or 65 inch monitor up there. And it'd be nice to get a voice activated camera, get an additional mic, and then Ian suggesting that we can just run it off of Bobby's computer, which the town owns, and just take a cable directly to the monitor. That way we can get rid of these cords and Ian could come over here and sit with the rest of us.
As a
So,
constituent, I would say that's invaluable for handicapped people, for others that can't make the meeting. And if you record them and make them available as you've been doing, it's really, really invaluable.
Good, so do you want to check into that a little more and maybe we can make an investment? And we'll try and find out if anybody really knows what we can spend.
And when we make money,
Yeah.
that's the big thing. When we
But I
get
heard
the
Buffalo
money.
got half of
The
it.
counties and the big cities did, because they're just getting directly. to the
Directly,
American
not to the
state.
state.
Okay,
Allegheny County already got their.
We're
They're
not
getting it
entitled to do
directly,
that.
right. So I think this last thing said, don't expect anything.
While you're on it.
Hmm,
Well, we're in June, so we do the research for next month and then maybe we'll have a date. Maybe not. But the other side of it is, do we want, I mean, you know, if we're looking at what, 500, 800, we've got excess income from the mortgage
can
tax.
find the
We
money.
could probably,
yeah,
maybe we shouldn't wait because it is a valuable benefit.
I think. What were you gonna say?
The item is gonna be the fancy camera. The TVs are, $300 to $500 for a big TV. Amount for
And a microphone.
an extra mic, you could do that part of it. For $100 and then decide whether or not we wanna go fancy on the camera. Or
That makes sense.
Check it out, see what the numbers are and, okay. Good for you.
I think if we moved on those two, you know, even to have them for the next meeting and then
Yeah.
decide on the camera.
Yeah, we can decide the camera later, don't have to do it all at once. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that
We didn't accept that yet, Jan.
so,
We are gonna have special money there.
that's right. BBS is going to be taking over in July, so Jan's been working with them, making sure that we're making the transition.
Yes, and we'll have a new W-4.
saw that.
You could get it back to me, so they need all new ones. for everybody.
Oh, they do.
I figured
They've done
probably.
it before, they sold it.
Okay, now the other thing we have on here is something from Jan's verdict.
I haven't seen that. I don't have it in my file. Do you?
Can't read it, huh?
Copier was out of ink.
Well, let's see, Jan, I think it's been our honor to have you here for 36 years, so I will say that on behalf of the board. And so now, and you're saying here that you're going to continue part-time for at least the next year.
If you hire me back.
Now, do we have?
We're gonna underline and circle the at least.
So, all right, so we would accept this letter of resignation and we have to hire you back as a part-timer, right?
Appoint me just as comfort at Buster Vista.
Okay. Does anybody
Can we
want
hire
to,
before we fire?
does anybody want to move to accept this or
If
not?
we don't move to it, she's gotta keep working.
You gotta keep working.
All
Life
this
science.
stuff that's going on right now, I'm like, oh, I already did this part-time. That's why we need these guys even more.
Yeah, these guys are gonna be invaluable.
Yeah,
Okay, so, I'll move that we accept this. Is there a
second with
second?
regrets.
Second with regrets. Discussion? You know, I thought to myself, we really couldn't have a retirement party for you because you really weren't
I
retiring.
know my kids are having an absolute fit.
Well,
What are
no,
you doing, Mom? What, we need to know. I'm retiring, but then I'm going back.
but we
So,
could have a retirement party for the end of the bookkeeper. Correct?
We could, but I don't know what we want to do. It just,
How many times did Brett Favre come back? They had a party for him every time he went.
Well, no, there's no sense putting off a party. You never know when you're going to have another one.
use any excuse for a party. That's right. Okay, well, then the board's got to discuss that, but at least, okay. We have this moved and we have a second. Do we?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
any more discussion?
Nothing
All
to
in
say?
favor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now I would move that we appoint one Janice Burdick as the town clerk, tax collector, and registrar of vital statistics, effective July 2, right?
No, not till
July
July
3.
5th.
July 5th?
It's supposed to, it's a weekend.
Okay,
And Fourth is a holiday. So,
July 5?
Party during those 2 days you're actually unemployed.
that's what I'm- Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Okay, so effective July 5. And so I'm not gonna put any time limit on it. We're just hiring you at will forever. Is there a second? Discussion.
I like the forever.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Congratulations, Jan. You've got a new job.
It's very different.
What would you do if you were to get one holiday weekend off the first one? Yeah, I called in.
Well, the third week of July, I'll be on vacation, so.
I'll still call
Never even planned.
You going up to Lake?
Yeah. It's on,
Good for
you.
you.
The third week, fourth week?
the last week of July. Which was the first week of August.
Oh, okay. I'm going up there at the end of the month, this month, or June.
Okay, that's all I got. Are there any committee reports or new business that we need to attend to? We have on there, Jan.
Nope, I had other new business for TV.
Okay, in the absence of any other business, is there a motion? Do you have anything to say from the village? Glad you're here. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Fred.
That is, what is going to be the timeframe or the shot clock for declaring the application from these new solar people complete? What's the process?
To be honest with you, Fred, I'm going to rely on Sean and the attorneys that we're hiring to give us all the timelines. So I'm not going to say.
Okay, but we should be looking at the documents and looking for things that we think are needed in that application. If there
Right,
are
and
any.
that's what Sean indicated that Knopf and Shaw and he were going to be doing. First of all, was to review the application submitted for any omissions.
Yes.
So they're going to start that ball rolling. That's my understanding.
I would just suggest that you also enlist the zoning board of appeals and the planning board to also as two different sets of eyes to look at these and provide input to them and to the town board.
Okay. That's a good point.
You know, we're the local people.
Right.
And the local constituents will be contacting us and talking to us, and if there's going to be, you know, this local review, then we should keep a hand in it. And I'm not saying that those the attorney and the consultant aren't a good idea, but what I am saying is that we should stay in the game of review, early review.
That's a good point, and I guess we'll just, we can either do that formally or informally as far as the ZBA and the planning board and requesting their input. So I will contact both chairs with that information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this just a sample?
I gotta say, you guys are way ahead of where most towns are at this point. We are. Well, the best thing that we have going is the fact that we have zoning, and almost most of the towns within the county don't have zoning, so they're doing a super crash, trying to get things in place. And so, I mean, you guys are so far ahead, it's gonna be, so I'm sure the county is not going to accept this application and send it back to you. I'm not gonna guarantee that, there's 11 of us that have to make that decision.
Do we need to do anything with this tonight?
There are a couple of documents that I have to sign
Okay,
for the board.
this one looks like it gets sent to Northland.
Yeah,
I think we give everything back to Dwight.
Okay.
And
he does the mailing, yeah. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, Chair.
Is there a second?
One second.
Thank you. Oh, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Fred.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you all.
Fred.
I'm so glad I came in.